Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and my guest today comes from basking in the sun on the island of St. Lucia to Burlingame, California, where he has acquired a long-time Burlingame Avenue business. In St. Lucia, he was a financial consultant, specializing in helping international clients reach financial goals through better access to worldwide solutions. Today, my guest is the new owner of an iconic Burlingame smoke shop, retitled Don's Burlingame Tobacconist. My guest, Don Gross. Don, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to jump right in. Where the heck is St. Lucia?
Well, I had to look it up myself. I met this beautiful woman in Manhattan, and she said she's from St. Lucia, and it started from there. But we were living and working in Manhattan for 7-8 years before we actually decided to move down there permanently.
So you had gotten married or what?
Yes, gotten married, and then eventually had a child born in lower Manhattan.
Okay.
And we thought, well, let's do the diaper years down in the Caribbean and help her mother with her family business.
So is that where your wife, Seabell, right?
Yes, correct.
She is from St. Lucia?
Yeah, that's her motherland.
Is it one island or a series of islands?
It's one island.
It's one island, right.
Yeah, and they got their independence in 79, I believe.
Okay.
It was previously a British Commonwealth.
How long were you guys down there?
I don't know, about 7.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were sort of like, what were you like, man? An investment counselor? You were what, a hedge fund guy or what? What's the deal?
No, not a hedge fund guy, a little more pedestrian than that. I started out as a stockbroker back in the days. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
And, but really financial advisor. And then I morphed into, for about 25 years, a wholesaler. So I worked for the money managers calling on the stockbrokers. And it took me on a lot of travels, and I covered the U.S. at times and worked out of Manhattan. So
and then you just kind of moved your office to St. Lucia?
Yeah, so when I went to St. Lucia, I kind of went on I quit the corporate life and hung out my shingle, and I specialized in helping offshore clients.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun because I still have a number of those clients and made a lot of great relationships.
So did you go to work in shorts and flip-flops and aloha shirts
Mark,
and all that?
It was exactly like you think it was.
What did your wife do down there? What was she doing?
Well, her mother, their family owns a resort, and it's a unique resort. It's about 35 private villas.
Oh, boy.
So, and her father passed away, so we went down there initially to kind of help out.
Yeah.
And she still does sales and marketing for the resort.
She does.
Which she can do remotely from here.
And is her mom sort of running the resort then?
And her mother's an amazing woman and continues to run it. And she's in her early 70s.
I was going to say, her mom's got to be in her 70s, right? That's terrific.
Just a great, relaxing place.
Yeah. All right, Don. So you're down there basking in the sun, and you're in St. Lucia. Life is good. You're smoking cigars. By the way, what brand of cigars were you smoking down there?
Well, obviously the Cubans are some of the most sought after, and so I could have access to those through the duty-free shops down there. But, I'd smoke a little everything. Dominicans, Cubans, Nicaraguans.
Were you smoking more than one cigar a day?
Yeah, 2, maybe 3 a day.
Yeah, in between clients, in between phone calls and all that, right?
Yeah, you'd meet on the beach a lot for meetings.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time now to move from St. Lucia. And how do you land here in Burlingame, California?
Well, just kind of started with the thought that I wanted to get my little girl back into the U.S., education system. And like a good New Yorker, I was going to pivot to Southeast Florida. So West Delray Beach and Boca Raton.
Right.
And my wife's like, we're in the Caribbean. Florida's so close. And she wasn't really excited about it. And then, lo and behold, my best friend lives here.
In Burlingame?
In Burlingame.
Oh, no kidding. Your best friend lives here?
Yeah. So I've been coming here for years.
Oh, you've been here then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he walked into this cigar shop one day and said it was for sale. And we got the wheels turning.
Okay. So wait a minute. So wait a minute. You're a financial guy. You smoke a few cigars in St. Lucia. What's the deal here? What am I missing now?
Well, the cigar culture is completely ingrained in me. You know, I was in every cigar lounge for 30 years, traveling around, calling on clients. So I love the cigar culture.
Yeah. And was your dad a cigar smoker?
And my dad was a big cigar smoker.
Okay.
My father-in-law was a big cigar smoker.
Yeah.
And I became a cigar aficionado by default.
Is this something that you'd always kind of entertained in the back of your mind, thinking someday I got to get out of the financial world and I want to have my own business and sell, and it'll be a cigar store?
Well,
is that how that happened?
All that except the cigar store. I was actually just looking to buy a little business because my friend said, "Why don't we look at buying a little business, and then you can get your child in the schools and live here and pivot away from what you thought you were going to do, which is Florida."
So it wasn't necessarily a cigar store, it was just a business.
That's correct. We looked at, a number of stores and different things, and this one just kept, shining a light and then became the star of what we were looking at.
You mentioned that you smoke cigars and stuff like that. Does your wife smoke cigars?
She does not, but she loves the smell.
Yeah, right. So does my wife. Okay.
And she doesn't mind it because she grew up with it.
Yeah. What about female customers in the store? Do you get a lot of ladies that come in, not just buying cigars for their husbands, boyfriends, or other folks, but female customers purchasing them for themselves? Is that happening?
Mark, it's a trend, and it's always was a trend. We've gone through like the third boom of cigar industries from the early 90s.
Yeah.
There was another one in the 2000s. We're going through another renaissance. And with that the couples come in. So the husband and wife, they come in, I select a cigar that fits their palate, and then they hang out in the lounge.
That's great.
And I even have several of those couples that rent a monthly locker.
Yeah, those work pretty good for you, don't they?
So that's pretty cool. And then as far as the overall general women coming in and buying for their cigar smoking loved ones, I would say that's like 10,000% on the upfold.
Wow.
Because they just feel comfortable. It's nice and clean. They come in. Whoever's in the lounge just kind of ignores it. And we're on we select the cigars. And it's just a nice experience.
Let's talk about the shop for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
It always had sort of an eclectic look to it because it was packed with stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the smoking lounge was in back.
Yeah.
But as you walked in, you kind of bumped into the lighter display and this display and that display. It was very unique in its own little way, right? But you came in, and I'm actually kind of blown away. You sort of started taking over right away. I mean, obviously, but you started moving stuff and doing this and doing that, and you actually went to a full-blown cigar lounge with the cigars on the side, of course.
Yeah.
But now you can walk in the front door and sit right down and have a smoke, okay?
Yeah.
How's that working out for you?
Fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that had to be done before that could happen.
Yeah.
But in 28 years, if we have another visit on the podcast, I might have stuff piled up.
And that's okay.
I mean, the guy was there, but in joking aside, I mean, I wanted to make it obviously kind of slicker and cleaner and kind of fit the Burlingame Ave, but more comfortable for those walk-ins.
Right.
And the old setup was fantastic, had a lot of charm, but there was no ventilation, and they were in the back mainly because the doors were open and a couple fans were going.
Yeah.
So with the ordinance no smoking on the avenue, I had to get creative because I have to have my door closed.
I know that.
So I put in this pretty cool and extensive filtration system that brings in fresh air from outside and changes the room 36 times a minute.
No kidding.
Takes it off the roof. I put a 12-foot extension so no one can smell it. And literally, whenever you look through the windows and you see ladies and gentlemen smoking, but you can't smell it.
That's amazing.
Now, I need to, perhaps I can even go upgrade it even more. But for now, it definitely is doing the trick.
Because I was going to ask you, now that you've done that, made the whole place where you can smoke front and back,
right?
And the doors are closed. I was going to say, is it sort of weird for you to be sort of surrounded by smoke all day? But I guess with this filtration system,
I think it's better than what it was.
No
actually.
Kidding. That's terrific.
And there was 8 chairs in the back, and now there's a total of 15.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge. expansion, but it looks like it.
Yeah, I know that. What happened to all the stuff? Did you sell some of that off?
Yeah, initially I took it all to a storage unit and sifted through it, and I gave the old owner, Mario, a good chunk of stuff he wanted, memorabilia and stuff, and then the rest I sold, and the rest, is...
Yeah.
Made a trip out to the landfill.
But it's worked well with your customers. I mean, every time I'm in there, there's people always sitting there, so smoking, and you're engaging them and all of that.
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned earlier when you were down in St. Lucia, you were smoking Cuban cigars, right?
Yeah.
What's the mystique with the Cuban cigar? What's the big deal?
A lot of it is it's something you can't get your hands on. It makes it more, valuable in the marketplace.
Right. So,
however, if you look way back, before '59, the
embargo,
the Castro embargo. A lot of that farmland was tobacco. A lot of it got converted to sugarcane. So there's really only half the island that produces great tobacco, so it makes the supply even less, which drives the price up. And I personally, over the years, you see the lack of infrastructure built in the Cuban distribution. That's why many of the best cigars in the world, 7 out of 10 of them are Dominican, Nicaraguan, etc.
7 out of 10 of the best cigars.
Yeah. So they've lost their footing in the marketplace, but they're still excellent.
There's still a mystique to them.
When you get a real one, and the fake market is probably 10 times bigger than the real Cuban market.
Really?
Yeah, so...
Is there any way to detect fake?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways. We once a week someone comes in with a Cuban and we eyeball it. We can find
right
5
away
things wrong with the band.
Yeah.
Mostly, we can tell just from the smell of it. It doesn't have... Frankly, the real Cuban kind of smells a little like manure.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's a lot of detections, but there's a lot of them out there.
So they're still not available in the U.S. You can't sell them, in other words.
No, they're still not available.
Do you think that ever going to happen where you'll be able to sell them? Are they going to loosen that law?
Listen, I think when we can book a Marriott over there and hop a flight from Miami, that'll be about the same time.
That'll be the same time. Okay, great. All right. What are some of the popular brands that you sell?
Well, first and foremost, Mario had a Davidoff distributor license, which essentially I bought with the shop and got approved from Davidoff.
I assume that's kind of like a jewelry shop having a Rolex distributorship or something.
Exactly, Mark. If it was a car dealership, this would be the Mercedes, right? So they're out of Switzerland, and they're out of Geneva, and they were one of the last to leave Cuba. They left in 1990, not 59 and 65, right? So they were hung on to the end, which made them a very valuable brand name for years. They were the Swiss Cuban. And in 1990, they moved to the Dominican.
Okay.
And they purchased Avo. So they own Avo, and they also own Zino in Nicaragua and Camacho in Honduras.
And you sell all of those?
I sell all those. But then after that, I have all the great iconic brands, Arturo Fuente and Macanudo and Monte Cristo and Romeo and Juliet. And some of the newer brands like Padron is a famous Nicaraguan brand. And boy, it's really, there's so many. At the last cigar trade show, Mark, there must have been 7,000 cigar companies there.
Where was the trade show?
Vegas, of course.
Wow.
Although the next one coming up is going to be in New Orleans.
Oh, that's even...
So that'll be a fun city.
That's a trade-off, isn't it? Yeah, they're both great cities, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so popular brands, we just discussed those for a minute. What's the difference between a dark skin and a light skin cigar?
That's a great question. Matter of fact, this would be a good segue. I brought you a gift. One of
look at
one of
this.
the iconic cigars in the shop.
Great,
the Davidoff
check it out.
signature.
The Davidoff, man. Look at this, a signature, baby. Wow, that's a Sunday cigar for me.
Thank you for having me.
No, this is wonderful.
Memento.
I wish our listeners could see this. Okay.
It's the Toro size, and that one is light. It's a Connecticut shade wrapper. Now,
that's the light skin.
Seems hard to believe. Connecticut, United States of America, in the Valley, they still grow this tobacco under cheesecloth. hence the shade. And it comes out very light, super mild. It's an iconic wrapper in the industry, and everyone tries to make a Connecticut shade wrapper.
And what's it called again? I know it's a Davidoff, but what's it called? What's
That's the line of it. The signature and the size is Toro, so the Sig Toro.
Okay, which leads me to this question then. A lot of cigars, when you pick them up, they have little numbers on them, like 6 by 50.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, the 6 in that case is the inches, how long the cigar is. And the 50 or 60 is the ring gauge, the circumference of the cigar.
How large it is.
Right.
What's the largest cigar round? I mean, does it go beyond a 60?
There's a 770 now.
Are you kidding?
But the 660 is pretty darn big in itself.
What's the largest one you carry in the shop?
I have 660s.
No kidding.
But,
by Davidoff, or is it by somebody else?
Davidoff makes one 660 now.
Yeah.
They used to make 2, but it's hard to get the wrapper can have a tendency of cracking at that large.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, a Churchill, the famous Churchill size, is 48 by 7 1/4.
48.
So 48 ring gauge, not quite so thick, and a little longer.
Yeah, longer. That's right. Churchill, because you always see profiles in the cigar. It looks real long out there. Yeah. Okay, so I know there's a rule of thumb, or I heard there was a rule of thumb about the size. So let's say you have a 5-inch cigar. Mm-hmm. Somebody was saying to me, and I don't know if this is fact or feeling, but 1 inch equals 5 minutes. So if you have a 5-inch cigar, you could get 25 minutes out of it. Is that true, more or less?
That is more or less. And to simplify it even more, all the different sizes of cigars is directly related to how much time you have. Because they're meant to be fired up and smoked through one time. So there's small ones that I call the dog walkers.
Right.
And this Toro, for instance, that's a nice 45 to an hour.
Sort of after dinner then?
After dinner. And this particular cigar, that Sig Toro, you could have in the morning with your cappuccino.
You're kidding.
It's a great
And I won't get that buzz feeling?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Maybe from the coffee. What do you put in the coffee, Mark?
Yeah, that's right. All right, so some cigars are square, and some are round. What's the deal with that?
It's been a trend. It kind of started maybe a dozen and a half years ago, called a box press. So they put them in there fresh after they roll them, and they put them in the box and put the nail down on the lid or the seal, and then they form that slight rectangular.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's kind of neat. It's a different texture in your hand. Some say it gives a slight more tighter, more concentrated draw. Not tight, but concentrated.
What do you prefer, round or square?
I like them both, but there's some that only come in that square, and I love them.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're delicious.
You're making me want to fire one up right now. Okay.
I know. And next time we'll have a podcast at the shop and we'll smoke.
All right. So, what's the most popular cigar among your regular customers? Is there something that really leads the pack?
Well, that happens to be the number one seller in the shop. That's Sig Toro. But if I had to break it down, cigars can pretty easily be categorized into mild, medium, and full-bodied. Mm-hmm. The milds, if you're an occasional smoker or you're at the first one of the day, tends to get pulled. So I would say a nice, mild cigar is probably the most popular, and Rocky Patel makes one, and Davidoff makes one, and pretty much everybody makes one.
Is that what you would introduce to somebody who's a first-time smoker that wants to come, hey, Don, I haven't smoked many cigars in my life. Turn me on to something that's not going to make me dizzy. I'm going to enjoy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the first filter you have to determine. I like coming into the shop is like going to the wine store.
Right.
It's consultation where your experience with different tastes and what you like and what time of the day you're going to eat it, before or after dinner, on the golf course. So all these things kind of come into play, right? I mean, maybe you don't want to smoke this limited edition $40 cigar on the golf course because you're going to be throwing it down and picking it up and putting it. It's windy out.
Yeah.
But a Romeo and Juliet Grand Toro is delicious for that, and it's about $14.
Oh, priced right?
Yeah. So I also supply about a half a dozen golf courses on my wholesale license.
Oh, terrific. Good for you.
So.
All right, so how do you ensure the quality of the cigar that's in your store? In other words, I come in, I grab a $25 Davidoff, I take it home. Am I positive it's not going to start to unravel and all of that kind of thing? Because sometimes you get a cigar from somebody and it unravels, right?
Oh, yeah.
The skin's coming off.
That's the entire operation hinges on keeping my sticks in great condition.
Yeah.
And that was one of the main things I calibrated when I took over. And not that the old setup didn't have, but it was just needed to be modernized. The machines today are just so much better.
So you did some recalibrating then with the humidors, I guess?
Yeah. I cleaned everything out. I replaced them with 12. I have 12 different humidors that supply humidity, and they have to be filled with distilled water every day.
Every day?
Yeah. I could hard line them in, but because I don't know how long I'm going to be in this space, I fill them every day, from a flower and that's before you open or while you're open? Can you do that while you're open? I do a little bit. I top them off at night when I close, and I top them off in the morning.
Yeah, before you open?
Before I open.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And I have the 70% humidity, 70% temperature is the perfect. So I try to keep it in that range.
That's interesting when you say that, because they sell these little packets, right?
Yeah.
That say, 68 or 72 or something like that?
High 60s to low 70s, depending on the time of year. But getting to your point, Mark, let's say you buy 3 or 4 different cigars. I put it in a Ziploc, and then I put a little humipack in there.
Right.
And you could keep that in there for a couple of weeks.
No kidding.
And if you had a humidor at home, they have a larger humipack you put in there, and you can put those cigars in there forever.
So the what'd you call it again? A humipack?
Yeah, a little humipack.
They work pretty well, huh?
Yeah, the industry's transitioned away from dumping distilled water over the sink and shaking it over that little humidifier.
How long will one of those little packs last?
3 months.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
So those are a mainstay in the shop, but we sell those.
Yeah.
Various sizes.
Okay, so speaking of that, we know you sell cigars. What else do you sell in there?
Well, cigar accessories, of course, all the lighters and cutters and ashtrays and humidors.
You have a great online presence.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell the listeners about that on your website. It's
getting
amazing.
That up and running, yeah.
Who's taking care of that, by the way?
I have my Lightspeed is my machine company I use for my POS. Yeah, they also do all that.
Great photos of your stuff. So you have, tell us about the accessories.
And then pipes.
You have pipes
and pipe tobacco, which is a little known aspect.
Are guys still buying pipes?
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
I think there's been a renaissance going on there. Because,
no kidding.
The previous owner left me a fantastic inventory of pipes, and his secret blends of pipe tobacco that I still mix.
Terrific.
And boy, oh boy, there's a loyal following.
Did you have to do a little homework on the pipes yourself? I know you said you always smoke cigars, but what about pipes? I actually
smoked pipes as well.
Yeah.
So I've always had a couple of pipes going. They come in aromatics and English tobacco, and it just, whatever I thought I knew, which I thought it was quite a bit, the old owner, Mario, was just a master at pipes. And so for the 6 weeks I was training before we actually did the transaction, I learned a lot about pipes that I thought I did.
Somehow I have this picture of you sitting in this high-rise in Manhattan with your feet up on the desk, right? Smoking a pipe, talking to somebody about 1,000 shares right now, okay?
Yeah, I love it. You'd be right. Only it was probably like the 3rd floor.
Yeah. So you have lighters, you have cutters, you have all sorts of humidors and all sorts
lighters,
of stuff.
Cutters, humidors, and we season the humidors when you buy them. We spray them down with distilled water and get them all, get them pre-conditioned for the humidity.
Okay, so I'm going to come in to buy a cigar, and I buy it. Oh, no, let's just use this one. I'm going to take this home, this beautiful Davidoff, and should I bite the tip? Should I use a cutter or should I use a punch? What would you suggest?
Well, don't bite it.
And I don't intend to.
A straight cut gives you the most, draw. So you're going to get a more flavor.
Versus a punch?
Now, if you punch, right, you're going to get a more condensed draw. Maybe you're not an aggressive smoker, right?
Yeah.
And you just want to puff on it. Maybe it'll make it last a little longer. Or you like to hold it in your mouth a long time. Some guys, when it goes out, they just keep it in their mouth.
Right.
That was actually a Winston Churchill trick.
Yeah.
He actually didn't smoke that many cigars.
No kidding.
It just, when it went out, he kept it in his mouth.
Yeah.
So if you have a punch cut, it doesn't unravel as much.
Yeah. Interesting. What
Personally,
do you use?
I like a straight cut.
Yeah.
And then there's a V cut that's popular now.
Is that with a special cutter then?
Yeah,
or
you
what?
get a cutter, and it puts a deep V in it, and it's just a slice right off the top, like a piece of pie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the trend.
Terrific. Good. Okay.
By the way, the pros, when you go to these factory tours and you watch the master rollers walking around looking at the work, they'll just grab a cigar and they take their fingernails and they put it on the cap and they just turn it a little bit and they pick it off.
Wow.
And they light it right up. There's no cutter and there's no biting, but they do it and it looks like a perfect punch.
They just know the feel.
They just know the feel.
That's cool.
So that's typically how I start my cigar.
Let's go to the convention just for a minute.
Yeah.
How many people attend something like that?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is it like a 3-day convention?
Yeah, it was literally a 3 or 4 day convention, 3,000 or 4,000 rooms.
Did your wife go with you on a show
No.
like that?
No.
You went by yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strictly business, Mark. Strictly business.
Okay, but there's vendors there, obviously. I mean,
So
I've been
all
to
the
plenty of
vendors
conventions,
have a
right?
booth.
Yeah.
Toro Fuente, for instance, built a small castle.
Really?
And then literally all have their own little sections, and then they debut a new cigar, and then they have sales. So if you buy 50 boxes, you'll get 5 free. I mean,
Yeah.
and they introduce new product.
Is the place filled with smoke? I mean, is everybody smoking?
It's unbelievable. Everyone is smoking. 1,500 people. And they were on the end of the casino in some,
Right.
end of the conference. But I got to tell you, they have incredible systems. You don't even notice it.
Yeah.
I mean, you smell it, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
And in Nevada, you can use these things called ionizers.
And what is that?
And it literally zaps the molecules and kills the smoke and the smell.
Wow.
And that's kind of the new thing in
How cool is that?
cigar lounge technology. You can go in there and charcoal filter and ionize it. And when a young lady, when you come in with your wife and she goes out, her hair won't smell of smoke.
Right. Yeah.
So that might be something for my next location.
Well, speaking of that, of locations, etc., when you were deciding to buy your present shop, did you visit other cigar stores in the area to kind of get a feel for different things? Or, I mean, I know you've been to plenty of cigar places over the years, but did you visit any competition, or do you visit competition now?
I didn't visit one single store before I bought this place here.
Really?
Because I knew it had a Davidoff license.
And that
with
was
it.
big for you.
And that was everything. The nearest one in Davidoff is Marin County.
Really?
And then another one down in Palo Alto.
So they're pretty scarce.
They spread them out, or whatever, however far that is, 30, 40 miles.
Yeah.
So that's made it. And
That
now,
was a big kicker for
I
you.
have visited the one in Marin County recently, and
Yeah.
it is a spectacular shop.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 plus years that it's been there. Has a fantastic selection.
Yeah.
So, it was a good inspiration to see some of these old venerable places around here.
So have you visited any competition since you've opened up?
Yeah.
Like there's a place in San Mateo, right? And are you the only one in Burlingame?
I'm the only one in Burlingame.
Yeah.
I haven't made it over to the one in San Mateo yet. I just happened to catch that one in Marin. I tell you what I did do, though. I was recently golfing in Arizona, and man, we hit some cigar lounges there.
Yeah.
And, for instance, I applied for beer and wine, and it was declined because they don't mix beer and wine with tobacco in San Mateo County.
I didn't know that.
In Orange
interesting.
County and the county across the bay. I mean,
Right.
there's plenty of it. But so that was a game changer because that was something I really wanted to add.
Yeah, right. Maybe down the road or something.
But these ones in, some of these other markets, like particularly Arizona,
Yeah.
there's this lovely bar and cigar and food and the whole works.
Oh, I bet. So tell me, what sets your shop aside from anybody else's? What makes your place special?
Oh, thank you for
Besides you, Don.
Well, I tell you, I set the tone to make everybody welcome.
Yeah.
It's like my living room.
Yeah.
You're coming into my lounge, and not everyone stays. Everyone just comes in for a great retail experience as
Right.
well. So I think first and foremost is a great, friendly environment and a really good selection. I've 7 or 8x the Davidoff selection.
Yeah.
So that's been a real game changer.
Good.
And it's just a real comfortable place, and with that filtration, you can actually enjoy hanging out there.
Yeah, I have
while.
to say I really liked how Mario had it set up, bumping into stuff and all that. I just thought it was pretty cool.
I agree.
I thought you moved too quick, but I was wrong. You did the right thing, and I'm admitting that to the whole world right now, okay, because it looks really cool what you did in there. It's like you said, you're walking into your front room, your living room. Has a nice feel to it. Yeah.
I have no other motives other than just making it comfortable.
Yeah.
And the law in California is a retail cigar shop that is owner-operated with less than 5 employees can have a lounge.
Perfect.
And why not have 15 seats instead of 8? I mean, it's
I don't
really
blame
all
you.
I've done.
Yeah.
And added better filtration.
So when you first bought it, I know you were working just about every day.
Yeah.
You didn't have any help, really, right?
Right.
Do you have some help now?
Yeah, I've got a couple of great gentlemen that work for me part-time.
How'd they know about, did you have a sign posted in the window, I need some help, or what?
Well, good question. No, as the best ones are usually pulled from the patrons. So Dan, my general manager, he was a client hanging out for months.
Right, and you knew that he knew something about cigars.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great.
So that was just a stroke of luck picking up Dan, and then my Sunday guy is Phil. And again, he was a customer, and he also has a couple other side businesses. So it's just a really close community, and it was organic.
Yeah, that's terrific for you, because the 6 and 7 day is a grind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You need work with life balance.
Yes.
In the first
are you
6
getting
months,
some of that now?
Yeah, I totally am. In the first 6 months, my wife and daughter weren't here yet, so I was able to work.
Yeah.
100-hour weeks.
In a sense which is brutal, but in a sense you don't have to answer to them because they do need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
But if they're not here, then you're free to kind of go for it, right?
So I have a great situation now.
Yeah. So what do you do on a day off? You mentioned golf. You playing a lot of golf?
Oh yeah, I've been trying to get as many golf rounds in as possible.
Do you play anywhere in particular?
Well, yeah, I play around. I play the public ones here, Poplar and Crystal,
Good.
and then I have some friends at various private courses that I glom onto and have fun.
You supply the cigars when that happens, or what?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm always prospecting golf courses, but it's a golf course actually has to have a tobacco license for me to operate with them, and some courses don't even have that. So they might allow you to smoke a cigar, but they're not actively selling them. So that's the distinction.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So speaking of that, then, do you have like a cigar club that you have yourself, or monthly specials, or anything like that going on?
Well, it's starting to develop. Now that I've had the place a year and have the operations and the backbones in place, I did initiate a lounge membership in January, so that's been really...
Tell me what that is.
That's taken off above expectations. So I have since I didn't get my beer and wine license, I have a daily lounge fee if you want to just come in off the streets, $10 plus cigar, hang out. We've got free Wi-Fi, and so we get quite a number of those. And then there's a social membership. It's $40 a month, and you can come in daily, and you get on the email list for events. You can bring in members at half price. And then there's the lockers, where you get those little lockers.
Yeah, how many lockers are there, by the way?
There's 60 lockers.
60, gosh, that's... Mario, the previous owner, maybe 2 or 3 times a year he would have a cigar dinner. Mm-hmm. And Davidoff was typically help sponsor it. A couple were at Sapori Restaurant. One was at Prime Rib Place in at Broadway. And It blew me away having a cigar and eating prime rib, right? Nothing
best.
like it.
It's the best.
Are you thinking about doing anything like that?
Actually, I have done a couple of variations of that already, and I do have those planned. Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Mark.
What do you mean by a variation?
Well, I've had them in the shop.
Oh, terrific.
And had a couple Davidoff events there, and about 40 people in there.
That's terrific.
And
Good
so
for
it
you.
starts a little later, so it's pretty quiet on Burlingame Ave, as you might expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
That's
you know,
smart.
right?
Yeah.
So then we had, hors d'oeuvres. It wasn't a sit-down dinner, but...
Right, but you had hors d'oeuvres and people
August
talking.
1st, I'm going to do a sit-down dinner with Davidoff at one of the golf courses.
So you're working on that now?
Yeah.
Terrific.
And then September 19th, we have another one booked. So we got some upcoming stuff.
Okay, that's good, because those are fun.
Oh, man. Everyone was asking about
I
those
forget
old
how many guys
dinners.
show up. There's what, it seems like it was
100
100
plus,
guys,
yeah.
right? And there's like 3 women, right? Which is funny.
I'd like to do something outside in a tent.
That would be great.
Wouldn't have to worry about ventilation.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so, Don, I enjoy a daily cigar, but I'm not smoking a Davidoff every day. Okay, this is my weekend cigar. This is top of the line. Can I come in and find a budget cigar?
Of course you can.
A budget cigar might be anything $15 and less.
I have that particular Sig Toro is $33. And I got a great cigar just like it for $14-15.
What is that?
Well, it would probably be a Chateau Fuente, a nice, similar, mild, and
same size.
Same size.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's mild, medium, full body, and then it's I can get you into your price range.
Right. That's good to know, because it's nice to be budget minded during the week, but splurge on the weekend a little bit.
So the last cigar boom was created by online sales. So you can, let's face it, anyone can order this stuff. From a Florida distributor to their home with no tax.
Yeah.
Whereas California is between 50 and 80% tax. So coming into the lounge and the shop is a little bit, of a premium for the facility and the ambiance and the location.
Absolutely. No, that's
also my ability right now to maintain the freshness of the cigars is great.
That's terrific.
The humidifiers are I don't think the cigars have ever been in better shape.
That's great.
And with the turnover of the cigars, the guys
it's keeping them fresh.
They're telling me that they just love the condition of the cigars, and that's the best feedback any tobacconist can receive.
So everything must come UPS, huh? Your orders all got to be UPS shipped?
Yeah.
And they're coming every day just about?
Almost everything's out of Florida.
Yeah.
So they're coming in through LATAM into Florida and then shipped out. I usually place an order and I get it less than 7 days.
Wow, that's terrific.
That's not bad.
All right, I got a couple more for you. How do you feel about being a business owner here in Burlingame on Burlingame Avenue, probably one of the most popular streets in San Mateo County?
Well, it's certainly something I never expected.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a fantastic experience. It's great culture. I've met a ton of great small business owners on the Ave, and it's just a great little community. There's hiccups along the way, but that's going to be anywhere.
Right.
If I told you stories of how do you operate a business in a third, or down in the Caribbean, for instance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red tape everywhere.
Oh, I got you got some good stories. Do you miss it at all? Do you miss St. Lucia?
Well, there's, of course, certain things you miss, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't prepared for the cold summers here.
They are cold summers at times, right? With the wind and everything else. So, boy. All right. How about a little shout out time? Your wife and your daughter. Your wife is
Cibel.
Cibel, right? Sweet lady. She actually is the one that contacted me.
Oh my gosh.
Through a instant message or something on Nextdoor, I think, and blah blah, and we went from there.
That's great.
And that was kind of fun. And your daughter is what over
Indy?
Indy. She's third grade, second grade?
Yeah, second
McKinley?
grade. Little shout out to my girls who help contribute so much to my success.
You guys have
those
really
late
acclimated
hours.
to Burlingame. That's really cool.
Cibel also runs my Instagram and all those great posts, which is her specialty.
Yeah, she's kind of your PR girl, right?
She's so great at it. So if you haven't, check it out.
So you're on Facebook, Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Good.
And
how do we find you on Instagram?
Burlingame Tobacconist.
Just Burlingame Tobacconist.
Yeah.
Follow.
And then on my website, it's donsbt.com.
Yeah. Terrific.
Yeah.
And why don't you tell everybody the location of your shop and the hours that you're open?
Oh, excellent. Well, the location is where it's always been, the iconic location, 1404 Burlingame Avenue on Primrose in Burlingame Avenue.
I love it.
7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. On Sundays, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Perfect.
And, of course, we always have some kind of sporting event on the two 75-inch TVs.
Got to have it going, man. And I know that you have your regulars in there because every time I do pop in, I always see, I think his name is Val.
Oh, yeah.
I think I can't remember. Vlad, thank you. Vlad, yes, he's always...
shout out to Vlad.
A shout out to Vlad.
And Mr. Mike, our oldest member of Parliament.
That would be Mike Horowitz?
Yes,
the great
that would
Mike
be.
Horowitz, my former baseball coach.
Mark, there's a lot of wisdom in there, I love it.
Is, man. That's great. Don Gross, thank you for being a guest today.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for the cigar.
I'll see you down there soon, buddy.
You bet, bud. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to thank Don Gross, owner of Don's Burlingame Tobacconist, for being my guest today on Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. Thanks to Kathy and Shelby Lucchese for editing and producing, the great Ray Tyler for video, original music by Bray. You can hear more of Bray at braymusic.com. This podcast was recorded on Friday, May 17th at the Burlingame Public Library. The Burlingame Historical Society copyrights this recording, and no part can be copied or replayed without the permission of the Burlingame Historical Society. So until next time, everyone, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.